mute everyone.
That was kind of fun. I'm Ralph Edwards. I'm R.E. Eliason to the board. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are a religious community, my bell is still ringing, who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search of truth. We promise to do our best to provide you with a spiritual home. We extend a welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page. To participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events in our religious exploration classes, please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comments section of our Facebook page when you can sign up. I'd like to draw your attention to the recent announcements. For those in person, they are printed in your order of service. There are links in the UUC newsletter and weekly UU connections for those who are watching online today. Just two quick announcements. One is there's no coffee hour today, but you're certainly welcome to stay and chat and converse and socialize as much as you like. And then second, we're following CDC protocols on masking. So masking is optional at this point. Those who choose to wear masks, that's fine. Those who choose not to wear a mask, that is equally fine. Thank you for all joining us in person and online today.
Provide a little mood music on the piano here, just some improvisation to get us started.
Good morning. It's nice to see a lot of new faces here.
I'm Leslie Frederickson. I'm the worship associate today, and I'm going to guide us through a few readings and moments of thought before we turn it over to Julie. So the first thing is something I wrote a while back, and I think it sets the stage for what we're going to talk about today. And it's a possibility that you might want to close your eyes and really visualize what I wrote, or just hang with me with eye contact, and that's fine too. A tall gray tower stands in a vast open field. At the top of the tower, a circular balcony rings the tower's empty middle, where an impossibly bright light shines down. Separating the inner balcony from the light is a series of stone-arched windows, each with intricate stained glass in a different pattern that twinkles in a rainbow of deep, rich colors. In one window is a golden Star of David, in another a deep brown cross. Around the corner is a lily-white lotus blossom in one window and a black Om in another. In each of the many windows appears a symbol of another religion, each one beautiful, rich, mystical, and enticing. And each looks in upon the same light with a different view, equally brilliant, that draws us in. It is our religious tradition to take time in the radiance of each of those windows and absorb the warm color that each adds to our lives. With that, I bid welcome to all attending in person and online, my beloved community. And our opening words are written by David Pohl, who wrote, "We come to this time in this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and a full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair, with all her people one." So now I'm going to rekindle our flame, and then we can read together the words in the order of service for doing such a thing. And if you are not in person, maybe you have access to those words too. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flame chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are a part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. And then, lucky you get another reading from me. This one's by Peter Morales. He wrote, "When we focus on what we truly love, we ask life's essential questions. We ask questions like, how shall I live? When we ask the question together in community, it becomes, how shall we live together? What shall we do together? When we focus on what we love, we discover something wonderful. We discover that we love the same things. We realize that we need one another. We want to be compassionate and gentle with one another. We want to raise children who are kind, content, and responsible. We aspire to create a religious community where we can come to know one another more deeply. We want to create a place where we can cry together, laugh together, sing together, learn together, and act together. We want a place where we can come together to remind ourselves of what is truly worthwhile, because that is what worship is. It is literally an affirmation of worth." And one more reading. I will leave eventually, I promise. Forrest Church wrote, "UUs are neither chosen people nor a people whose choices are made for them by theological authorities, ancient or otherwise. We are a people who choose. Ours is a faith whose authority is grounded in contemporary experience, not ancient revelation. Though we find ourselves naturally drawn to the teachings of our adopted religious forebears, these teachings echo with new insights of our own. Ralph Waldo Emerson did not seek disciples. He sought people who could use their minds and tap their souls as profoundly as he did. In a UU church, revelation is an ongoing process. Each of us is a potential harbinger of meaning. And now I'll give you a break and go over to Julie.
It's great to be doing service with Leslie again. Leslie's a hoot. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp. It's great to be with you today, and I always love the summer because our 50-50 Share the Plate goes to one of my favorite organizations, the LGBTQ Center, which is right around the corner from us. And it makes such a difference in people's lives. There's a teen youth group that really offered so much support during the pandemic. There's a transgender support group, and it's a place where people can be in community. They have an LGBTQ gaming night, and there's so many activities that affirm that we have worth no matter who we are, who we love, and what we believe. So I encourage you to donate as you are able, and you can give online at uueauclair.com, or if you're here, the greeters will come around with a basket, and I will turn it over to Linda Littrell, who will tell us what music she'll be doing for Music for Giving. The offering will now be given and so very gratefully received.
Good morning. Today I am playing a very short concert, about 2 minutes. And I'm playing, the first one is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, for today is a joyful day. And then Dona Nobis Pacem, give us peace. If you'll please join me with the words found in your order of service or in your online chat. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
So recently I've been reading a book. I saw the movie several years ago and enjoyed it. It's Julia Roberts, who could not. It's called Eat, Pray, Love. And then recently somebody said, the movie was good, but you really should read the book. And so I did, and now I'm reading it a second time because it was that good. So if you saw the movie and thought, it's good, it's Julia Roberts, give the book a look, because it was kind of good. And so when Julie asked for me to research a reading, I was like, I've been reading this great book. And I'm embarrassed to say it was Eat, Pray, Love. But here it is. I'm going to read to you a little bit out of Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I was struck by this. She wrote, "What I'm seeing in some of my friends as they are aging is a longing to have something to believe in. But this longing chafes against any number of obstacles, including their intellect and common sense. Despite all their intellect, though, these people still live in a world that careens about in a series of wild and devastating and completely nonsensical lurches. Great and horrible experiences of either suffering or joy occur in the lives of all these people just as with the rest of us. And these mega experiences tend to make us long for a spiritual context in which to express either lament or gratitude or to seek understanding. The problem is what to worship, whom to pray to. I think you have every right to cherry pick when it comes to moving your spirit and finding peace in God. I think you are free to search for any metaphor whatsoever which will take you across the worldly divide whenever you need to be transported or comforted. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's the history of mankind's search for holiness. Heck, if humanity never evolved in its exploration of the divine, a lot of us would still be worshiping golden Egyptian statues of cats. And this evolution of religious thinking does involve a fair bit of cherry picking. You take whatever works from wherever you can find it, and you keep moving toward the light. The Hopi Indians thought that the world's religions each contain one spiritual thread, and that these threads are always seeking each other, wanting to join. When the threads are finally woven together, they will form a rope that will pull us out of this dark cycle of history and into the next realm. More contemporarily, the Dalai Lama has repeated the same idea, assuring his Western students repeatedly that they need not become Tibetan Buddhists in order to be his pupils. He welcomes them to take whatever ideas they like out of Tibetan Buddhism and integrate these ideas into their own religious practices. Even in the most unlikely and conservative of places, you can find, sometimes, this glimmering idea that God might be bigger than our limited religious doctrines have taught us. In 1954, Pope Pius XI, of all people, sent some Vatican delegates on a trip to Libya with these written instructions. Quote, "Do not think that you are going among infidels. Muslims attain salvation too. The ways of providence are infinite." Unquote. But doesn't that make sense? That the infinite would indeed be infinite? That even the most holy among us would only be able to see scattered pieces of the eternal picture at any given time? And that maybe, if we could collect those pieces and compare them, a story about God would begin to emerge that resembles and includes everyone. And isn't our individual longing for transcendence all just a part of this larger human search for divinity? Don't we each have the right to not stop seeking until we get as close to the source of wonder as possible? And with that, I turn those questions over to our Reverend Julie Lepp.
No pressure. So, what did the Unitarian Universalists say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. Yeah, sorry. Gosh, you already knew. Anyway, so I like that one. And the heart of Unitarian Universalism is that we understand that despite all our relish, our mayonnaise, what else do you put on hot dogs? Pickles? Slaw, onions. Do you put pickles on hot dogs? All right, we're getting all sorts of answers. Hopefully people online are making really cool comments I can look at later. That all of these preferences, that we're ultimately connected. And while one person might use the word God, another person might use the word ultimate truth or ground of being or goddess or earth or wisdom. And still, we can be in the same building, we can still be in the same planet and in the same community, and get along. And that's what the work is, right? It's learning how to listen to each other's language and to understand that just because I believe something and you believe something different doesn't make us enemies. It doesn't make us wrong necessarily, though we like to have our discussions, and that's the fun part, hopefully, is that we can learn from each other and that we can choose. And so that's why today the service is called A Chosen Faith. And growing up in South Carolina, as I became a Unitarian Universalist instead of the faith that I grew up in, Episcopalian, some people like to call me a heretic, which is great, because a heretic actually means someone who chooses. And so while they meant it as something derogatory, I said, you're right, I am a heretic. I choose what I believe, and I use my mind and my heart and my love to discern that. And I hope you do too, And so hopefully we can embrace a language that is large enough where we can have discourse and talk to one another. Growing up in the Bible Belt and going to a non-Unitarian Universalist theological seminary, I had a lot of practice at that. The translation of professors that wanted to teach me systematic theology when I just wanted to talk about, not systematic theology. But what was great was that I got a lot of what's called theological thinking, which is an awfully big word to talk about thinking about the universe and thinking about ultimate questions. And that's what drew me to Unitarian Universalism in the first place, was that my questions were often poo-pooed in more organized religious places, just believe in the Nicene Creed, or just believe in what the Bible tells you, or this holy book, or this doctrine, or this saint. And while I respect that works for some people, it did not work for me. And I also wanted to see myself in what was holy. I didn't. I was really lucky that my stepmom was an Episcopal minister, and she was one of the early Episcopal priests, and that was really powerful. But I did not see the feminine divine in the God that I was brought up with. It was the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, not the mother-daughter crone, or mother-maiden crone, or whatever. And then I also wondered, what happens to Hindus? What happens to Buddhists? And so I think that what I really appreciate about a hot dog that is one, we make one with everything, is that we're all different, and we come into this space, we come into our communities. I vote at a very conservative church, and I get a little nervous when I go there because it feels very intimidating. But when I go in there, I'm welcomed by secular volunteers who are on all sorts of spectrums. And my oldest got to vote. Kendra, who's here today, got to vote for the very first time. And nobody blinked an eye at their name or when we were using they, them pronouns. And that's the way it should be. And so I have a lot of hope for what Unitarian Universalism tells us about how we might be in this world. But Unitarian Universalism is a very long word. People who are little have a hard time saying that, so a lot of times they'll say you. And another thing is it's sometimes hard to describe. I'm going to pick on Nate Otto, who's actually at home now being our Zoom host. So he's not here to tell me not to pick on him, but he's our... He just waved. Oh, did he wave? Thanks, Nate. He's our past board president, so I'll get it today at the board retreat. But anyway, he let me share this in another service, so hopefully he's okay. Anyway, we do this class called the UU elevator speech, which sounds really evangelical, but it's not. It's the idea that you're trying to figure out, how do you talk about a place that looks like a normal congregation, where we draw from different sources, we draw from ethical traditions, and people like Gandhi and Buddha and Jesus, and how do you talk about that? And he told me, no single book or institution holds ultimate authority over the ultimate truth. We are a community of people who seek our individual truths together. So if somebody asked you what a UU was, that's what he said. And I tried to write one that might happen in 30 seconds. It's kind of hard. We are welcoming faith without dogma or creed. We are seekers of truth and justice with love at the center of all that we do. And for each person, some person might be like, I'm not going to use the word faith. I'm going to say we are a welcoming tradition, or we are a welcoming community. And that's what's powerful, is that you get to write your own Nicene Creed, but it's not a Nicene Creed. It's a insert name here creed, or evolving idea. And so in a congregation that draws from different sources and different philosophies, how do we get along together? Well, and that's where the love at the center is so important. And you'll notice at the end of our Joys and Concerns, which is a time when people come forward and they share what's on their hearts and minds, we close out with these words: love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And that's the closest I think we get to a covenant or promise in this congregation, a creed, I guess, or some people might say our 7 principles are that way. But it's how we promise to treat each other. If we believe that each person has inherent worth and dignity, if we're on different sides of a political issue, or if, let's say, there's members of this congregation that are a part of government or a part of a community association, and you have different opinions, we're still going to treat each other with dignity and worth. And we might disagree on an issue, but we're going to do it hopefully with respect and love, and come back together on something else, And there are hard issues that come up in life. How do we make Eau Claire a prosperous community? How are we a welcoming congregation? How are we going to develop the downtown? People might have different ideas about what to do with the transit station, or all sorts of ideas, but that's the work, hopefully, of love and worth. When our family adopted 3 kittens during the pandemic, 3 kittens, we agreed to make promises to those kittens. Kittens live for 20 years. So we made a promise that we would look out for their well-being, and we would love them and cuddle them and feed them and make sure their medical care. Some people who marry write their own vows. And there are promises made when a child is brought into the world, whether fostered or adopted or birthed. When you begin a project or job, promises and agreements are made. Next Sunday, Megan Fuccelli and Frank Fuccelli are going to bring their children to the animal blessing. And by the way, next Sunday, for those in person, we'll be at Pine Pavilion for our animal blessing and backpack blessing. And there's going to be, they're going to bring their children. And people say, well, do you do baptisms? And I don't use that word because I don't believe kids are born in sin. I use baby blessing or baby dedication. But this will be our first children. There'll be 3 of them. One who's, I think, 6 and 4, and little baby Thorn. And what will happen is that we'll have water, and we will anoint their little heads, but we won't say we're casting out sin. We'll say, you are originally blessed, and we're so glad you're a part of this community. And then the children will surround them and will say, yay, and the parents will name them. And I just think about what a different paradigm that is. What would happen if our senators did that? in Congress, they're like, oh, bless you, whoever party you're in. Let us show you the ropes of how to be in the halls of Congress so we can get work done. So we can work together and love one another. And I know, it's really mythic, right? But you got to start somewhere. A UU minister, Robert Fulghum, I might be saying his name wrong, but he wrote, everything I ever needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. And I think that's a great idea. We share our crayons. If we make a mess, we wipe it up. We go to the potty often. We try and take care of one another. And if somebody's crying, you give them a Kleenex. It's simple stuff. So our congregation was founded around children. For those of you that are newer, it was founded, by a group of families who wanted to provide religious education to their kids because they looked around and said, well, how are they going to learn about different religions? And I kind of like liberal progressive ideas like nuclear free zones and things like that. And so they sat around, there were 12 people or so, and they put the babies in the middle, and that's where it started. And next, on August 28th, we'll have a new members class, and people who are better at the history will tell that history. But I think it matters where we start from. What is our intention? So our intention with this community is to create a welcoming space. It's if somebody comes up here and says, I've been sober for 5 days, you damn bet that everybody's going to stand up and go, good job, And then if they cry, we're going to be there, Or if somebody comes up and says, I just adopted a baby, or whatever it is, it's being there for people and their joys and their sorrows, and recognizing that we're all on a journey, we're figuring it out, and that's important. When I was a little girl, it's hard to imagine a place like this. When I was in South Carolina, I really loved my Episcopal church. I thought it was very loving, but I found it narrow. And when I got to college and started studying other religions, I thought, well, what makes them right and me wrong, or what makes, how is all this right and wrong happening? And I went, when I was 22, I got my first job out of college in Jacksonville, Florida. And I've told the story from this pulpit a couple times of how I, like a good Southern girl, I went to church in my hometown, like my grandmother taught me. But I couldn't stay there. I walked out, which my grandmother would have given me a sound tongue lashing for, because it was, I felt very rude, but I literally couldn't say the words that the church was saying. And so the next Sunday, I went to the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Jacksonville, Florida. And for me, that's what it meant to have a chosen faith, and that I chose that. And what was really powerful to me was later on when I got ordained in this congregation in 2010, my dad, who's an Episcopal priest, gave me, I'm not wearing the stole, but he made me a stole, and literally put a blessing into the pocket of it. And he said, you have your own path. And that meant so much to me, that when I visit him, we take turns saying blessings at the table. I don't know if you do that when you gather with your family, if you have different beliefs, but my son Aaron might say something about the earth, or I might say something about, we have a song that we like to sing, "Oh, Give Thanks," in this congregation, and then my dad will do his traditional Christian blessing. And I think about, how great that is. And there's certainly not all spaces that happen like that for me. There are times when I have to be quiet, put my head down, and just get it through. There's also times when I speak up because I'm tired of hate or racism or sexism, and it can change relationships. It can make relationships go away. But when we can find those points of commonality, it's powerful. So what is it about Unitarian Universalism that draws people? Sometimes in a new member class, the one common thread will be, I was looking for something different. I was looking for a place that I could be myself. I wanted to bring my queer self, my queer kids. I wanted to bring my atheist self, my Christian self that doesn't believe in the Trinity or doesn't believe in eternal hell and damnation. We have youth who grew up in our congregation and is now practicing Muslim at the local mosque. We have folks who have made this a part of their journey and they carry it with them, and some people who stay. And that is also a blessing, the fact that we can be a part of people's lives in ways that are important. When I was installed here and ordained on November 7th, 2010, I made promises to this congregation. And the congregation made promises to me. There was a lot of tears and joy. We didn't have COVID. We were a lot of hugging and touching, which I'm looking forward to again as we keep moving forward. But there was closing words that day, and we spoke them in unison, and I just wanted to share that with you. That was about as high church as I think we've been in a long time. In love of truth and spirit of Unitarian Universalism, we covenant to move forward together in the way of our principles. We have 7 principles that you practice. Let us be ever mindful that we are one with the whole of life. Let us draw together in sacred peace, become as one body joined in love, and reach out in understanding to all life everywhere. Let us renew our commitment to this congregation and this movement called Unitarian Universalism, affirming our dedication of sacred service, that the world may not overcome us, but rather we may help to redeem and sustain our world. In Georgia, there's still a death penalty, and I've stood with people at death penalty vigils. And here I've stood with people, or I've been with people when at the Pulse shooting happened in Orlando. We had a vigil. In 2015, we had a lot of people in this building. And standing room only, because our president at the time was telling people that immigrants were criminals and bad and awful, and we didn't want to be like that. We wanted to say Eau Claire is a welcoming city. And so we had people from the Muslim community and from the Hmong community and all sorts of folks up here affirming that we were a community that is grounded in love and welcome. And I was so proud of this congregation. And I was so proud of Eau Claire to really speak out. And I think that is also a choice, is, how do we show up for those who need us? How do we show up for ourselves when our worth is denied? Growing up as a woman or being a woman right now, my rights are in jeopardy. A lot of people's rights are in jeopardy. I look at our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and people of all genders, and I'm concerned. If we say love is the spirit of this church, we show up, we speak out, we fight for legislation. We try and use our democratic process to do the right thing. And then we have hope, when little people come among us and they're, are you going to be friends with the Fucellis? Yes, we will. Are you going to be nice and kind to one another? Yes, we will. Everything that we needed to learn, we learned in kindergarten. If somebody falls on the playground, you dust them off and you pick them up and you hold their hand. The 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism recognize the roots of Unitarianism and Universalism. It's a love that doesn't give up. It recognizes that hope is in the human condition, that we're redeemable, worthy, and lovable beings. We have to treat each other with compassion and kindness. Universalism rejects, red stamp, fear-based religion. I just want to chuck it all in the bin. Eternal hell and fire and damnation. The concept of a sinner in the hands of an angry God. Humanity is not worthless or low as worms. And it doesn't mean that we don't struggle with evil. Gosh, you can look at, look at the news. There's so much that's hard with the world. But it assumes that there's something redeemable in all of us, and that if we work together, and if we aspire to be our best selves, whether that's as a Buddhist, a Christian, a humanist, then we can do that. And it's not a new concept. This Universalist beliefs have been proclaimed for thousands of years, starting with Origen in 200 CE, continued into the 1700s with James Raleigh, and it came to America in the 1700s when a Universalist was trying to escape religious persecution. And UU history tells us that we've always constrained with our Orthodox roots. Don't tell me what to do. And in a congregation like this, it's so important that we have all of our voices. The minister is not the giver of truth or revelation or wisdom. Hopefully I have something to say, but Leslie brought her words. When we have our joys and concerns, you'll bring your words. And Linda did an excellent service last Sunday. And it's important. It's important what we do. The etymology of the word religion means that which binds us together. So it's not just a religion, a certain set of beliefs, but it's that concept of love, not in creed or hard truth, but that flexibility of relationship. So one of the best expressions that I'll close with today that I found about this chosen Unitarian Universalism is Reverend Scott Alexander wrote this. In a world with so much hatred and violence, we need a religion that proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In a world with so much brutality and fear, we need a religion that seeks justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. In a world with so many persons abused and neglected, we need a religion that calls us to accept one another and encourage each other to spiritual growth. In a world with so much dogmatism and falsehood, we need a religion that challenges us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I feel like we need to put that to all the networks, to everybody, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In a world with so much tyranny and oppression, we need a religion that affirms the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. In a world with so much inequality and strife, we need a religion that strives for world community, peace, liberty, and justice for all. In a world where we're struggling with environmental degradation and climate change, one that advocates for the interdependent web of life. And in a world where there is uncertainty and despair, we need something that teaches our hearts and to hope and our hands to serve. You know, it's something that holds us when times are hard. During the pandemic, you know, all of us were turned upside down. Seems like this decade, there have been so many things that have turned us upside down. And I know that's the human history, right? There are things that challenge us. But what is it that brings out the best in us? Hope, love, fighting for freedom, coming together. And I think that's radical now, which is so weird. Why is it radical to want to speak truth or hold up for truth? Why is it radical to treat each other with compassion and kindness? So I hope that on your journey you find hope and certainty and even uncertainty that shakes you a little bit and helps and stretches you a little bit. And if you need to walk out of an institution and go somewhere else, you have that power. If you want to sit here on a Sunday or you want to sit in the woods and that's your church, you have that power. But do it with love. Love yourself. Know that you were born right the first time. That's my favorite line. Thank you for being here today. Amen and blessed be.
So in light of all that she said, this morning I want to say how grateful I am to share this morning with all of you, this moment on our spiritual journeys. And before we extinguish the chalice, if you who are here in person would just share with me lighting one joy and concern candle for all the people who are online and can't. So that's a special joy and concern candle for people who aren't here today. And then we can go to extinguishing the main candle together with the words printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words are, may our lives be reflections of beauty, peace, and joy that is possible in the world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways. Amen.